with your lovely hymn, if you'll begin, please.
Okay. How great is our God? The splendor of a king, clothed in majesty. Let all the earth rejoice, all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, and darkness tries to hide, and trembles at his voice, trembles at his voice. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? Oh, we'll see how great is our God. And age to age he stands, and time is in his hands, beginning and the end, beginning and the end. The Godhead three in one. Father, Spirit, Son, the Lion and the Lamb, the Lion and the Lamb. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? And oh, we'll see how great is our God. You're the name above all names. You are worthy of our praise, and my heart will sing, how great is our God. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? And oh, we'll see how great is our God.
Really lovely, Christine. Thank you. That was beautiful. Very beautiful. Welcome, everyone, to Soulful Sundays. Today is about truth and trust and listening to your higher self. We're going to talk about how important it is to be in alignment with who you are. We're going to open this with just something a little bit, since this is non-denominational. We're going to open this with something that's interesting that Christine brought to me. And we've all heard it, we know it. It's a truth about who we are, and it brings us to our faith, and it brings us to our trust, and it brings us to our higher self. This is a quote from Carl Jung. There is no coming into consciousness without pain. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Now, that is so powerful, because literally, when we come into this space of even wanting to know what our soul is about, to know what we are about, we have to look at ourselves. We have to look at the shadows. We have to embrace the shadows in order to bring in the light. Without understanding the darkness that we've had and working through that and bringing in the light, there is no glory. It's just darkness. And in that bringing in the light, in that shifting of that story, in that conscious awakening, is really where humanity on an individual level connects with the divine, connects with God. And it's a beautiful, beautiful space. And it's the most frightening thing that most people will go through. But as you work it and as you create your space going forward, your healings, your up leveling, your rising, what happens? It's easier and it's easier and it's easier. So it's literally the greatest journey you'll ever go on, the greatest trip you'll ever pay for, literally, meaning that let's stop taking trips. Let's go inward and do that kind of an inspirational trip within ourselves so that we can be aware of who we are and our greatness, and we don't live in fear.
Yes, darling. It's so beautiful to hear these times and to, experience what we're experiencing right now. And there is a lot of darkness. And we do see, right, that there is a lot of distortion. People are confused. A lot of people are hurting right now. And this is why Mia and I have decided to come together and to give a voice to what we know to be true, that there is a way now that you get to choose to be here. And we are so grateful that you do join us every Sunday and take time to just tune in. And we trust that it will serve you in your own lives moving forward. So, something I know about this woman beside me is that she walks her talk. She's a woman of integrity. And when she wants to share space and open up and have these types of conversations, I'm a yes. And I'm honored to invite each of you into this conversation today in a remembrance of who we are in our fullest form, which is all of what we are, and the acceptance and the love of what you are experiencing right now and everything you've ever experienced up until now.
That's beautiful, and thank you. And I feel the same about you, Christine. As you know, she's one of my soul sisters, and we speak the same language. And what's really beautiful about and I just want to point this out, Christine honored me there so beautifully. And I could have gotten really sick inside like I would have in the past. I was aware of the beautiful things she was saying. And instead of it making me freak out like most of us do, I actually learned to embrace the beauty that people share with me. This is how our light gets bright. This is how we move through the darkest times, is by connecting with a tribe of people. We all have our own tribes, our own soulful people that we connect to, connecting with people that lift us up, that are there to support us. So in this dark time of this lockdown and coronavirus, evaluate who's there to support you, who's there to help you along your journey. We're not here by happenstance, literally, meaning each of us on planet Earth during this time. We asked to be here. We have a soul. That's the God element. That's the God energy. That's who we are. And we have this gorgeous soul and these beautiful human bodies. And let's make them work together, blend them together without fear, without fear. And that would be trust. So how do you go about looking at yourself and examining your connection to your higher self? These are the things to look at. Did you know you have a higher self within you? Most of you watching do, because you're in alignment with spirituality. But do you realize how powerful you are? And to learn to listen. Now, it's not about, and part of this is going to be about meditation and prayers, because most people, they pray by begging. Oh, please, God, if you do this, I'll walk the straight and narrow, I'll be good. Or they go to confessions. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Okay, I can count the beads and I'm okay. What about looking inside? What about being different? What about facing the things that have you going to confessions or begging? So getting back to the prayer part, we don't beg, we ask, we communicate, we talk, we speak clearly. The universe likes decisive stuff. God likes information that comes forward. And then guess what we do next? It's in the form of meditation. We quiet ourselves and we listen. A lot of clients for years have said, I can't get the message. I'm not hearing it. And I would say, guess what? You're not listening. So when people come to you, Christine, have you experienced this too? People come to you and they say, I cannot hear the answers to my questions. This is all about that stillness within us. This is all about the self-trust. It's there. You just connect to it and listen.
Yes. And the self-trust is there. However, in our humanness, in our stories, in our lives, we have abandoned ourselves. Many of us have actually been abandoned or experienced abandonment as a child.
Mhm.
And then what that has caused is for us to grow up and just abandon ourselves before someone else would abandon us. And so this self-abandonment, this way of just being in the world, being with yourself, not honoring yourself, not honoring your commitments, that is why we don't trust ourselves. And so this is a conversation of how do you get to trust yourself? Because I see you as so confident. I see you taking that action, how can I trust that I will do that? And there is, people are saying now, this way of reclaim your power that is about getting back connected to the truth of who you are and being unwavering in your bravery and your confidence. And what that means is starting small, but don't give up. Everything you say that you'll do, you must do it or clean it up if you didn't, okay? Because we're always in and out of integrity. But if you give your word, especially to yourself, I'm going to get up. I'm going to start that exercise habit. I'm going to start, eating healthy. I'm going to lose the weight. It's like, you've got to do whatever it takes. And we know what it takes to be prayerful, to get into meditation, to all those things. It takes quite a lot. It takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of honesty. And so what I would say is start there. Start reclaiming your voice. Start listening to what is true for you and take action every day, no matter what. And there's ways that we can do that, even now in quarantine. And that looks like scheduling it in, setting the timers, when they go off, taking the action, putting it in your planner, putting it on your phone, and making sure that you do something. If it's exercise, you got to put on those sneakers. Don't even don't let the mind go into its way, because that's when you give up on yourself. That's when you say, I don't hear anything, because you haven't developed that inner trust, which is so important. People think, oh, you're confident. No, I'm really not always confident. Things show up that I haven't done yet. So how could you possibly have the confidence to do it if you haven't actually experienced it yet? So no, there are those moments when I'm in fear and I'm in, like anxiety, and it's like, okay, hold on. Is this what you wanted to do? Yes. This is what you committed to do? Yes. Put on the sneakers and just keep taking action. If you decide that it wasn't for you, that's okay. You could always say, you know what, this is not for me. But I promise you that when you already know and you say yes and you take action, you will not regret it.
You know what's really interesting about taking action? My mind was moving as you were talking. What's so cool about this is it's a baby step. Everybody thinks that we have to just immediately jump into. So we decide we want to begin exercising, for example, as you were saying, that we have to jump into and be able to run 5 miles the first time out, right?
Yeah.
That everything that goes along with it. No, it's steps. It's looking at what you want to accomplish. It's figuring out the path in which to make it successful. That means getting your rest, beginning to eat right before you even exercise, literally. So they say, first work on your sleep, then work on your food, then add in your sleep, and then begin your steps forward. So in the point of showing this, it's just a step, meaning you can add as many steps to your routine as you want, but do little bits by little bits, because everything becomes more and more proficient, easier to do. And then you add on a little bit more, you go a little bit farther. You're meditating while you're working out. I promote that. Meditate while you're working out. It doesn't mean that you are silent, walking down the street or doing weights with your eyes closed. It's not that. Meditation in action is the greatest way to manifestation. It's that focused intention. We're in the moment now. And so we're not thinking about the past or the future. So when you're working, when you're walking, when you're exercising, when you're dancing, you're in that moment. And so then you focus in on your stuff. It's easy. It's just one little step in front of the other. I implemented some new steps into my weekday, um, little things that I've wanted to do that were to make me feel, self-care stuff to make me feel better. And when I looked at it at first, I'm like, I have these 4 things to do. Oh my God. Right. And then I'm like, no, you're going to do one day, and then you're going to keep repeating it how it's needed. Then you're going to add in the next. Oh my gosh. Within a week, I had already implemented these new 4 things into my life. And so they become our life. They're automatically what we do. And then we can add more in. So we think that things are overwhelming, and they're not. And so this is back to the same way of the alignment of your thinking, of your awareness, of your trust, of your listening, not just asking, but listening. Be patient with yourself. No one has ever probably said this to you, but gentleness on how you treat yourself is how you'll get through things. We began this with talking about the shadow work and about trusting. And so it's the same thing. Be gentle with yourself. Be loving. Most people don't know how to love themselves. It is a practice that brings proficiency. It is a space that allows us to grow into this.
Yes. And when you have people around you who love themselves, either this is what I've noticed is that I can either be inspired, as a mother with my children. What am I teaching my children in this situation? How am I being loving to myself? Is this loving? Whether that be the thoughts in my head that come into play, or other people like imposing on my time, or asking for things of me. And you know how this is when you're out there in the world. People do come in and they ask for things and they want to connect, but there can be a way that you honor both them and yourself. And this has been being inspired to actually love myself, because there's so many different facets to that. So when I look at my children, I see them watching me, I'm like, oh yeah, this is how I love myself. When I tell you I can't get you the breakfast right now because I'm sitting in my meditation on the floor, it means I'm loving and honoring myself. And you get to do the same for yourself, even though you're 8 or you're 11. It's like you will learn to do this also. And it's so important, because we think that if we show up in that way, that will upset other people. And we might. The truth is, you probably will upset other people, And that's why I love, being at the place of truth telling and truth speaking, especially when it comes to loving ourselves and setting boundaries or asking for what we want. I always often think of being a child in my own expression, and I'm very innocent and youthful, and it's just part of who I am, and joyful. But people ask, how are you so joyful? Well, it's because I do love and honor myself in the most beautiful and authentic ways. It doesn't take anything away from you if I say, not now. It just means not now. Or it could possibly mean, it's not the time. It doesn't actually mean no. So my children have even learned to honor my time and to honor my boundaries without making such a fuss about it. They're getting it at such a young age, but this level of me caring for myself, asking for what I want, asking for what I need, and they get to see that inspires me to find new ways to honor and love myself.
That's really beautiful. That's really beautiful, because we don't understand what it's like to be a mom and to be, I am a mom, but you follow my thought here. We don't understand what it's like to be a mom and to be a high-powered woman and to connect deeply with our children and to teach them this. This is legacy making. This is legacy making. Legacy making is when you teach your children by example the great things that support you, that will support their life. When our children can see us, they discover a great trust within themselves when it feels beautiful, when it feels smooth, when they're understanding that they are parenting themselves as well in love. It's not abusive to say, not now. I'll be through in whatever time and I'll make your breakfast. It's loving to show them that we have put ourselves in the place and we do what we say. That's the love. That's the incredibleness. My kids were almost grown when I came into this part of my life, the one that I'm living now. And so I didn't have that experience when they were young. I also personally couldn't handle it at the time. And that's why this massive shift for me came 12 years ago, literally, because I needed to create something different. And my children were older and they lived primarily with their dad, and I saw them every day. But the thing is I honor the women who do this. My kids actually have never really left the nest. They're back and forth in my place all the time. And so I have to experience this as, with young grown men. And so it's beautiful to honor yourself because you're teaching legacy to your children. You're teaching that space of trust. The part that we talked about, the shadow work, the darkness, the stories, the things that hold us down. When you show your children, when you show yourself that you can honor and love yourself and build that trust and that connection to the divine, guess what? The stories are less, the shadow work is less, literally, because what happens is we're operating in a different place. We're not impacting trauma upon trauma upon trauma that many of us have experienced. So this more enlightened way of speaking and treating our family and our children is really incredibly powerful. And that's why it's called legacy work too.
Absolutely. And, as you're talking about like the shadow, I'm just reminded of, all the emotions, everything we experience. And, somewhere along the line in my life, I got the message that anger wasn't good. Anger was wrong. The experience and the emotion of being angry, just so we're clear, right, everybody? Being angry was wrong and bad, and like you would be, exiled if you were angry, sent to the corner, sent to your room. It's like there's no place for anger to exist. And so as we talk about like the shadow aspect, it's like that part of you that hasn't even possibly been allowed to be experienced, like your anger. And I saw something, speaking of children too, is like, and I think it applies to all of us as well, but there was something about, please don't make your child wrong for being angry. Don't teach them that, being angry is wrong. And it's like, we are in these times right now. I love that we get to have these conversations, looking at ourselves, looking at like, is it really? Because we know what we resist persists. If we're angry and we don't express that in a healthy way, it's going to come out in this rage. It's going to come out very unconsciously. And it's going to create, with our words, with our ways of being, a ripple effect to those around us. It's going to hurt those relationships, because it's not a healthy expression. So let's look at like anger, even anger as a shadow aspect. And for me, it's like mothering myself and mothering my children. When anger arises, it's just another emotion. Can we sit with it? Can we sit in it? Can we accept like, whoa, I'm really angry right now? Just like when we're really joyful right now, it's like, who made that bad or wrong and all that? Well, because there was a lot of unconscious stuff that came through, but now we can see it can be a very healthy expression. It's showing us something else that's there. That's what all our emotions are doing. So can we sit with the anger first of ourselves? Because if we can't walk our talk or sit with it for ourselves, how can we then sit with it, right? And that's what we see in parenting and anything. It's like people don't know how to experience that, transmute it, be with it, integrate it, however you want to say it. So can you talk, Mia, a little bit about how, like, what are some ways that we can help others who might be feeling really angry right now? Because, I mean, this is just honest. I'm seeing like, and myself included, doing a lot of baking and doing a lot of cleaning and like trying to also fill the days when the anxiety comes in or the worries come in. And I'm certain that a lot of people are feeling angry at losing jobs or not being able to go and see people and be together. So let us look at like what is available. What can we do? How can we deal real way too, so that it helps us move through these times with grace and ease.
Wonderful. Well, first of all, be gentle. That's the number one thing. And also remember that what we were taught before in our old belief system, our own thoughts, our old life, those don't hold value anymore. Why? Because they were in the negative. They were in the downtrodden. So first, be gentle and look at everything. Like Christine said, it's okay to feel your anger. It's okay to have the emotions. Anything that is gone is like a death. And so it is okay to go through the whole scheme of observation, contemplation, perhaps anger, then a little bit of ease and
You
joy
froze there.
and anger again. It's all moving around. And so first of all, be very gentle with it and know that your experience is your experience. This is your soulful essence. You came here to earth, literally. We incarnated here to live a moment in time on planet earth. And so if you think about that, you as a creator, you have free will. The one thing we have here on earth is free will. So create that free will moving forward. Allow yourself the ease and grace of what is coming up. Christine mentioned about people losing their jobs and things like that. And I'm so sorry for anyone that is in that position. It's not a safe position. It doesn't feel good. So this is the place and the time to dig in deeper to you, to do your own work. Once you get through a few of these barriers, there is no greater connection that you'll have than with yourself. And I know that sounds odd at first to people, but literally, because people don't think about this, people don't contemplate this, people have no clue what it's like to connect with the inside of ourselves, the higher self. We are literally of the God frequency. So we have that within us. Our divinity, our soul is in this human body. So expand your awareness. What if by chance, what I'm sharing today and Christine is sharing today actually could change your life? What if? Just look at it as a what if. What if I could find a deeper sense of love? Ask these questions. See, the asking of the questions out to the universe and then listening. And if the word universe bothers you, then refer it with God or whatever that feels right for you. It's okay. So ask these questions. What if it's okay for me to have this anger? What if I lost my job? Will I die? See, fear comes from the concept over the last 30,000 years that we're going to die in the fight or flight mode that we've been in for years until a couple hundred years ago it started to slow down somewhat. Are you going to die if you lose your job? Look at it backwards, like reverse engineer the fear. So if death isn't there, it's not immediate, right? If death isn't there, you work it back until you become calm and you can see it. That usually opens up a channel or a path or an idea or a concept on where to move from there. Also, I've heard a lot of people are trying to get unemployment and things like that. So be gentle with yourself while you're doing it. There's 150 million people at least online trying to do something. So be gentle, be um, be on top of it, be decisive, be diligent, and do your duty. We got 3 Ds there. And literally just be gentle as you move through everything. And things will open up a lot faster. And if you need a loving conversation, you can reach one of us, either one of us, and we're happy to steer you in the right direction. Literally, we're here to serve humanity besides our families and ourselves. And that's the beauty is get out of fear, meditate, dance, pray, run, jog, be with family, go on Zoom, laugh, turn on comedy that makes you feel so good. Write a list so that you have it in your dark moments. Write a list of what makes you happy. How can you tune into yourself? How can you find that joy? Also, in these times, because it is, a lot of people are not going to doctors because of the coronavirus and all that. If you have a medical issue and you have depression or you're having depression, call your doctor, tell them it's an emergency and go be seen. And then also continue to elevate who you are. It's not fair for you as an individual to feel like you're fighting in a pool of water trying to come to the surface, because you're not in a pool of water. Literally, you're on land, but it feels out of control. So slow yourself down. Do the things that we've suggested. Just they're simple things. Without knowing you individually, I can't do much more, but be in your state of grace. Write down what makes you happy, the people that you love. Do a daily gratitude list. You can even do it twice a day. Just don't repeat it. Literally, like if you write 5 to 10 things out, make sure that at the end of the day, they're different 5 or 10 things. Start something new. Begin to read books. Listen to audiobooks. Educate yourself. Learn a new language. The cognitive function of even braiding hair or knitting or crocheting brings us back to center. It calms our central nervous system. And so, men, learn to embroidery, like who was he back in, the football player, Rosie Greer. My dad taught me how to embroider because he said, if a man like Rosie Greer can embroider, I can embroider. So do whatever you need to do. Embroider, crochet, knit, do woodwork, keep active. Idle hands is the devil's whatever, right? And so and so that's the same thing. Don't allow yourself to be just there with your thoughts. Being with your thoughts is good. Give yourself a limited amount of time. Make sure you get up and do something else. Break those energy blocks, because yesterday was the first day that I've taken off just for me, not going into my office, not turning on the computer in months, literally. And because I love what I do, but I knew I needed a time for me, and it was really difficult to be calm at, just doing nothing. And so we went for drives and photographing beautiful things, and it was lovely. It got me out of that space. And I'm not saying I was depressed or anything. It's just I was idle, and I was like, wow, what do I do with idle time? So it's okay to be idle. It's okay to be depressed at times. But what isn't okay is to stay in that space without moving forward, because then you get thrown into the victim place, and you're not a victim. You're not a victim. You're a thriver. You just have to maybe find it, but it's in there.
Yeah. And for me, I know that, doing things like that, doing hobbies, getting creative, singing, dancing, playing, that's all like part of my daily life activity. So we think like that. It's the same conversation we had before. It's almost like you think it's going to come, like the confidence, and then you'll do the next thing. It's like, no, the thing doesn't come before. You generate the creativity. You start to inquire and, like Mia said, right, move your body, start to explore that. You start to perpetuate that energy inside of you. And that's where you get this beautiful, flowing excitement for your life. And it starts to take on a life of its own. You'll actually open up more doors. But another thing is, for me, I know, is if I am like stuck in any way, shape, or form, even when all of this came through in the very beginning of quarantining, the very, very, very beginning, it's like I knew what to do. And it's probably from, being in other circumstances when there's chaos happening and all of this other stuff. Is like, I knew exactly what to do. And what I was called to do was serve. Go out there, serve, support another person, like get out of your own way for a little bit, because that will shift everything yourself. And we know this as coaches, when we have people come together and we start opening up the mic and we start speaking to everybody, it's like suddenly it's like wildfire. It starts catching on. Everybody's in gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm loving this. I feel so much better, but it doesn't just come out of nowhere. You actually have to generate it. How many times am I like doing something in the past? This is interesting, Mia, because I don't actually experience this anymore now that I'm remembering. But in the past, it was almost like even getting on a call with someone, I'd be like, oh, right now, or something's going on. And, and I would be like, I don't really want to do this. But I'd always get off the calls with so much energy, so much like playfulness, light, very light, and just happy, so much happiness that I supported someone else. Now I'm thinking right in this moment, like, why doesn't that happen anymore? Like, why don't I feel that? Well, probably because I know what happens when we come together. I know how I feel when we go through something together. And so that's also why I created, I did a challenge last week because I wanted to bring us together in a way that I knew I could. So instead of worrying about Christine and worrying about finances, and worrying about all my stuff in my head, you have your own. I threw myself out there. I was like, woo, we're going to do a free challenge. It's going to be on your voice and la, la, la. And I had so much fun. I had so much joy. People benefited. I got out of my own way. The week went so fast. I was like, wow, isn't that amazing? Like, that's who we get to be for each other. That's who we get to be for one another. So if you're feeling stuck, this is your higher self speaking to you, saying you're not alone. And if you don't want to feel alone, well, you're never really alone. So yeah, get in touch with that inner voice. And that inner voice will give you the guidance. It gave me go out and serve, help other people. And the whole week just transpired into something I could not have planned out myself.
I totally hear you. It's that purpose. You know your purpose and you're gifting it to others. And that's the beauty. Discover your purpose. When you discover your purpose, your desire, your passions start to bring it forward in order to move smoothly. This is a beautiful state of being, literally a state of being, because as you decide what your purpose is, as you step forward in that, your purpose one day, if you're not familiar with this type of talk or work, your purpose one day may be getting out of bed and having breakfast and taking your shower, and that's okay. That's a great step. That's an amazing step. Your purpose may be starting a painting and you're not an artist and it's challenging and you have to contemplate everything. Your purpose may be getting out of your own way and just spending a day dancing and walking and photographing, or I'm thinking about my life of what I would do, looking at the animals, looking at the wildlife. Now, if you're in the city, there's not a lot of that, but you can find it. This is interesting. Recently, I joined some friends on a 21-day Deepak Chopra meditation. And when he's talking in there about the abundance and how even the wildlife is our abundance, I know the stars are and the oceans are and the beautiful animals. I guess maybe I was taking them for granted living on this little paradise that I live in. And so now last night I must have had 30 bunnies hopping through my backyard at dusk. It was the most glorious thing. And the more grateful, and I would giggle like a little girl, we have something within us that makes us excited. For me, those bunnies, just every time I'd see one, I would just start giggling and it felt good. So whatever it is for you, be gentle with that and recognize it. The simplest things, the bunnies hopping through my yard, goodness gracious. Some people might be like, oh, get over yourself, Mia. But really, you know what it did? It brought lightness, it brought beauty, it brought connection. And so look for that in all your places, everywhere you go. I'm always looking for a joyous moment, a connection, beauty. When I used to live in Los Angeles, I would take walks and people would say, why do you not look at the ground? And I'm like, I look at, they always see me looking up in the trees. And why are you looking up there? Well, that's where all the fun is. I'm watching the squirrels and I'm watching the birds and I'm watching the beautiful little flowers growing in the trees. So no matter where you are, you can create your own experience, your own reality, literally by what you want. What do you want? First, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? and you don't take time to think about it. You let it flow. It can be anything, and it's going to surprise you when you allow yourself to feel and when you allow yourself to express forward love through yourself. The craziest things come forward. That's what transformation is all about. It's about moving through these stagnant spaces into the opportunity of choice. What do you want? Right? What do you want? So that's really beautiful. So I hope that answered that question.
Yeah, I think so. We just started to jam and riff, and it was great. And I feel like too, so many times we want to like get it right, or we want to like know our purpose. And I always say, like, you are the purpose.
Yeah, being happy is my purpose. Literally, that's all it is. Giving love and being happy. I guess that's a simplistic purpose, isn't it, Christy?
Yeah. Well, we would say simplistic, but look, I mean, how do you do that in these times? There are so many people not living that reality. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing too, is like when we have these shows, yes, we're speaking to a very high vibrational frequency of living your life in this way where you see life with a different lens. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so, you know, it's not that we haven't or we still don't. However, we have learned that it doesn't serve. We have learned that, you know, that's why Mia said, even like call upon us. When you have a community, when you have people, it just helps to keep you in this truth that you want. What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? Well, clearly, what you want is what you're creating, what you're looking for, what you're seeking is what's seeking you. It's true. So like, if you can shift into all of the things we've talked about today, or any of them, pick one, as Mia has explained, like being gentle, being playful, exploring what's here for you to be happy and joyous, even in these times.
The curiosity of life, the curiosity of anything, is that opening expansion. What would it feel like to be curious, even about making a delicious breakfast? What would it feel like to have the curiosity of the idea that maybe I come first in my own life? That's something that women don't think about. The curiosity of expanding my friendship base. What would that feel like? What would it feel like to listen to my body wisdom? There's curiosity in creation. Without curiosity, we can't create. We don't have that drive, that decision, that choice. So be playful in it, because that literally is where manifestation comes from. First the curiosity, and then the focusing, and then the bringing in. And I know that may sound like, wow, that's like, you know, looking in one of those spiral lights, you know, going like from the 60s or something, like, whoa, that's trippy. But it's not. It's one step at a time. And if you can say that you love your life exactly the way it is, you feel fulfilled, you're on your deathbed, and you've accomplished everything. So go to the end of your life. Look at what that would feel like. What do you want? If you were to pass on today, tomorrow, what would you want in your life? And only those who have actually crossed that threshold probably have done this. But do this exercise. I've done it. Christine has done it. We both have had exit points in our lives, but we didn't, and we created something great. So ask yourself, what do I want at the end of my life? Because we hear that people, when they cross over, guess what? They mostly want to have their family. They mostly want to have their friends. The money situation, all the stress didn't matter. What mattered was that connection, that love.
Wow.
And that's really powerful.
That's so powerful. And you just like brought it all the way back to this inner trust, inner knowing, inner connection is like, you know, I said it sometime this week, but everywhere you go, there you are. So it's like we can often, and it's just human nature, you know, things, how did she do that to me? Why did he do that to me? Oh, this happened to me. Yeah. And I laugh because, you know, I love being human. and I also need to understand what this is really about. And what it's really about is this beautiful connection that we get to have. It's own in our homes. It's like, wait a minute, like, how can I be with myself? How can I have like allowed myself to like take more naps and eat different foods? And I've just been like caring for myself very differently than when it's normal routines, you know? And so I've really been paying attention to what I need now, especially in these times. It can look different. It can also be like the things that we've been saying we've needed or wanted, and we haven't followed through with because we didn't have the time or the resources. Now it's like all these businesses are actually like coming online. And as I don't know about you, but like as I open my emails in the morning, it's like so many companies and businesses giving things away for free. Try this for free, or because of this, we want you to be part of this, experience this. And I'm just like, this is so amazing that the people that run the businesses are giving us these opportunities. I saw things today from fitness to, I was just like, wow, I felt like a kid like in the candy store. I'm like, look at all this stuff. There's so much, you know, that I can like try right now. So you see how like the focused kid in the candy store, how that energy is different, very much different than the drudgery of being in the word. I don't even like to say the word because I don't feel I even live it. Lockdown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing too. You know, I was thinking as you were talking, I did actually go through the steps of, I guess you'd call it crossing over. I had oxygen deprivation and everything else. And what the message that I heard, we all see things differently. And as I was looking for the light, I was actually showing somebody the light, and being the giver that I am, I went with them. And I asked the person that met us if they would take us to the light, how beautiful it was. It looked like it was like 11 o'clock on the, on a clock, and it was over there, and the light was coming down over the ocean. And I asked to go, please take us to the light. You know, he had about, and he said, what I heard was, I'll take her. It's not your time. Go back. You have things to do. And that was in 2014. And from then on, even though I declare that since 2009, I've committed myself to serving humanity, I got a different look at what that looked like. I actually began to put my body, my human body first, so that I could accomplish all the things that I needed to in life. Because I'm very clear on what my mission is. My mission is to raise the vibration, teach love, and to support the world. That is my mission. That is why I do what I do. Christine does what she does. What is your mission? What is your endpoint results? What do you want? Going back.
Mine? Can I say mine?
Yeah.
Because you got me so excited.
I'm ready.
Yeah, Christine does what she does. I'm like, wait. I know you don't want to put me on the spot, but I got excited, Mia.
Sure.
Yeah, so I know. So, the thing that I'm most excited about and that I absolutely love and I feel like is my mission is really supporting women and men in speaking up and speaking their truth and speaking in love, because when we communicate in this way, it does bring us together. It does unite us in ways. So I just wanted to say, and it is in this vibration of love, it's heart coherence and heart communication. And when we have that, we are moving beyond the egotistical ways and we're accessing a whole other language, a whole other life. I just want to say that. So back to you.
No, that's perfect. I mean, literally, that's perfect. And it's literally about each person on a collective basis. What do you want? Literally, you can create great things, amazing things. When I had my transformation 12 years ago into this life, that was another time that I was told by doctors that I wasn't supposed to live, that I had less than 2 years to get my affairs in order, that my organs were closing. And a month later, I had this awakening moment. And I call it the dream, believe, create process that I teach. It's the first thing that brought me into coaching. Literally, I dreamt about my life in the 5 pillars, which is spirituality, relationship, family, body, and work. And I expanded. I heard, you've been unhappy your whole life. What would it be like to be happy? And so in that time, I expanded out. I was like, I don't understand what to do. And I heard, yes, you do. Take the 5 pillars of life. And then everything flashed forward. And so as I expanded what I wanted in life, I do this all the time. I'm always creating. I'm a creator. I'm a manifester. And so as we create, as we bring forward, as we recognize what we want, the greatness of what we want, and then we believe it, we can create it. There's a saying that I love to say, we don't know what we don't know until we know it. And so in the unawareness, which is where humanity operates from mostly, we don't know what we want. So this is that love, that trust, that nurturing for self, to be able to connect to your higher self, to God, and know that you can examine everything in your life. You can look at what you want. You want a different house? Go look at it. Go create it. You want a different job? Go create it. I'm not saying that as a very trite person. If you want to hear more, sit in front of me privately, and I'm happy to talk you through it. Literally, it's that awareness, that expansion. I'm no different than you. I'm no different than anyone. I just saw something and I went with it. And fortunately, a couple times it has brought me through to even greater standing in my own power instead of taking me out. Most people on planet Earth have had abuse, either as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult. It doesn't matter. We take responsibility and we heal it. We reparent ourselves in love. And that's the awareness. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Anything else before we have you take us out with a song?
I just love that. Yes, it is really knowing ourselves, trusting ourselves, knowing what we want, trusting ourselves and trusting the higher power, your higher self, trusting God, source, universe, to provide you with what you want and what you need and what you require when you do ask, when you do show up and take the action, even when you don't feel really confident in doing that. Okay, so that's the biggest part, is knowing yourself, loving yourself, honoring yourself, using this time right now to develop the tools, if you haven't already, in how to live life in love.
Thank you, Christine. Would you like to take us out with that beautiful song?
Oh, yeah. So I just wanted to say one other thing. If there's any, how do you feel, Mia, about questions coming in as we wrap it up?
Are there questions? I can't see.
There aren't right now, but, I would love for people to start to pose some questions or ask some things so that we can.
Sure.
Yeah.
And also, Christine, maybe we should consider doing a Wednesday evening where people can, on a Zoom, where people can actually ask questions. So we'll get in touch with you guys on that. But do ask your questions. Let us know if you'd be interested. We are preparing our Soulful Sunday page on Facebook so that you have more connection to us. And we're just here to support and to love and to honor and trust you as we do ourselves.
Yes, thank you, love. So how great is our God? If you know this, sing along. It's by Chris Tomlin here. You can find it on YouTube. The splendor of a king, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, and darkness tries to hide, and trembles at his voice, trembles at his voice. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? Oh, we'll see how great, how great is our God, and age to age he stands, and time is in his hands, beginning and the end, beginning and the end. The Godhead three in one, Father, Spirit, Son, the Lion and the Lamb, the Lion and the Lamb. How great is our God! Sing with me, how great is our God! No, we'll see how great is our God. You're the name above all names. You are worthy of our praise. And my heart will sing, how great is our God. Sing it with me as we close it up. How great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. And all will see how great is our God. Thank you for being here, everybody. We love you.